Today we're going to talk about how to use setting to inspire your story. Let's dive in. If you're stuck for story ideas, and that can be ideas for a new story or ideas for where to take a current story, or a story that's gone stale, try setting. Work with setting. Look where I am right now. This is the mountains not too far from my house, just a few blocks away. I'm hiking up and around them, and I'm using this to inspire a new story idea. So, how can you use setting to inspire a story idea? Well, that's a good question. And there are a number of ways that this can work. One way is simply find a new location to set your story. And you can do this the way I'm doing it, and this is what I really recommend, is try to get out of your current environment, particularly if you're stuck. Get out of your current environment. Look at a new setting. It doesn't need to be brand new, but a setting that's different from your home office and your computer screen. Look at a new setting and see what new ideas spring to mind, what new story possibilities spring to mind, what could happen in that setting. Now, you might not have a mountain nearby you, and even if you do, well, all I've got around here is desert, and I might not want to set my story in a desert. But at least getting out of my normal environment gives me an idea of different places to set my story than in an office. So you can do this by looking up places online. If you can't get out of your house, or if there's just nowhere interesting to go around your house, just look up different locations and travel in your mind and find a new setting for your story. Find a new place where a conflict can erupt that might be unexpected and new, and draw your audience in. That's one way to use setting. Here's another. Setting doesn't just give you a new location for your story. Setting helps determine what kind of story you can tell. If your story is set on a spaceship in space, there are certain kinds of stories that are going to fit there. Obviously, a caveman story, people have tried to make caveman stories in space fit, but usually it tends to be some kind of comedy. Unless you're doing 2001: A Space Odyssey, in which case it's more of a philosophical adventure, which is fine. But when you create a setting, you're creating possibilities. By narrowing possibilities, you're opening possibilities up. What kind of story could take place on a mountain like this? Well, it could be some kind of thriller, some kind of getaway, some kind of outlaw story, right? Somebody's trying to hide out in the mountains up here. It could be a fierce, intense drama where, like the guy who cut his arm off trying to get out of it when he was trapped by a rock, or some other kind of survival drama. I mean, I know there are rattlesnakes in these mountains. There are definitely scorpions up here, and I've heard there are javelina in the area. I've only seen one rattlesnake on this mountain, but I'm sure there are other things that are threatening up here, so that could be a possibility. Somebody gets bit by a rattlesnake with no help around. What does it do? There's all sorts of different stories you can tell in an area like this. Or you could have a family reconciliation story where a family comes camping out here and say their car breaks down and they get trapped on the mountain, or there's a storm or something like that. There's all sorts of different possibilities, but by narrowing the possibility with the setting, you're opening up possibilities that the setting can point you to for your story to take shape. Give it a try. So setting doesn't just give you a location for your story. It doesn't help just determine the type of story you're going to tell. It also helps determine what kind of characters can fill that story. So there are certain characters that fit, that make sense, that work within certain settings. But also, there's the classic fish out of water story. So sometimes you can create an interesting conflict, interesting contrast, and create humor or drama in a story by sticking a character in a setting who does not fit in that setting, like sticking a cowboy in an office room, or sticking a lawyer on a cowboy field. What was that movie with Billy Crystal? The City Slickers, yeah. Those ideas, those fish out of water ideas can work, but they're not the only ways to let setting determine your character. What kind of character would thrive in this environment? That could be, say, your protagonist or your antagonist for your next story. If it's your antagonist for your next story, then you could stick another character here, a protagonist, who would not thrive in this environment. If it's your protagonist, then you could take your protagonist who thrives in this environment, outside of this environment, and put him someplace where he does not thrive. And he's got to learn, he's got to use his skills to grow and overcome new challenges. So how can setting help determine your character? Give that a try. As an alternative, let's say that you're already writing a story and you have a character, but your character's gotten stuck. It might be a series character or a serial character where it's a recurring character over a series of stories, or at least a series of chapters, and you want to bring more out of the character, but you're not sure how to do it. Stick them in a new place. See how your character reacts to a different setting. Use setting to bring out aspects of your character that wouldn't be brought out in other places. Let setting and character interact, and they're going to add depth, meaning, and entertainment to your story. So thanks for joining me today on my little nature excursion, my exploration of setting. How do you use setting in your writing? How might you use setting in the future to add to your story, to add meaning, depth, or more interesting scenes? Just scenes and characters to your story. How might setting help you? Reply in the comments. What are your notes about setting? What does setting mean to you? How do you use it in your writing? I'd love to hear from you, and please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That really helps me out as an independent content creator, guys. I'd love to make more of these, but I need some support, so please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this, and keep writing your settings. Can't wait to see what you come up with. Until next time, peace.